get the show rolling, I'd like to introduce Secretary Norton. She's well known to many in this room, if not all of you. She served as Secretary of the Interior from 2001 to 2006, I guess it was. And I was very privileged to serve as Deputy Secretary with her. She's now back out in Colorado and has her own firm and doing many, many other things, and also, I think, enjoying life a little bit. But I'm not going to give a big introduction because I think, Gale, you're so well known. So welcome.
Good morning, everyone. It's terrific to see so many people here. We have many more people than we were initially expecting, and so it is wonderful to have you, and wonderful to have so many friends that I've known for many years here in the audience today. The Conservation Leadership Council is committed to addressing the nation's environmental challenges through the application of conservative principles and ideas, trying to find ways in which we can have approaches that are comfortable for conservatives and accomplish environmental goals. The Conservation Leadership Council is a group of business executives, former government officials, public policy experts, and community leaders. We come from a variety of backgrounds, but we have a common enthusiasm for finding innovative environmental solutions. I'm going to provide an overview of the Council, why it is needed, how it started, what it's done so far, and something about what we hope to accomplish. Stewardship is a core and lasting American value. Yet in today's dialogue about how to exercise that ethic, some of America's strongest principles and ideas that can sustain our natural heritage and prosperity have not been considered. We believe many of the best solutions to the country's environmental challenges will be found in market-oriented policies, public-private partnerships, and bottoms-up solutions. These approaches have been successfully demonstrated in many local initiatives. When I was Secretary of the Interior, I had the opportunity to travel around and meet with people who were involved in local conservation efforts, who brought together neighbors to discuss their problems, to hash out their different perspectives, and to find ways of protecting their local communities and environment. We called that approach cooperative conservation. I still think that's a great title. But we wanted to see that spread across the country. The political landscape has shifted in the last few years. As someone who served in Washington, I'm familiar with gridlock and partisanship. But unfortunately, I think that has risen to massive levels today. Ironically, it is that atmosphere of distrust that helps stimulate the creation of the Conservation Leadership Council. We believe that there are good ideas that can transcend politics. Compromise is an unpopular word. And for today's conservatives, it has the connotation of abandoning one's principles. The Conservation Leadership Council is not about that approach. The Conservation Leadership Council looks for fresh proposals that can reach environmental goals while finding mechanisms that conservatives and libertarians can embrace. The Council's first activity was to solicit ideas from across the country, from think tanks, from universities, from people involved in the trenches on conservation projects. We sought authors who could present fresh ideas reflecting the Council's limited government approach. Instead of environmental proposals based on command and control, we sought proposals harnessing the power of the marketplace to encourage entrepreneurship and innovation. Instead of big government regulation, we looked for ways to bring communities together. Instead of raising government spending, we searched for ways to save taxpayers' money while still providing outdoor recreation and environmental values. Instead of destroying jobs and economic opportunity, we sought ways to provide the regulatory certainty that encourages investment, while meeting environmental goals effectively. We received many excellent proposals, and some of them are captured today in the book that we are releasing. This contains several of our policy papers. And these papers are also available on our website, leadingwithconservation.org. The policy papers complement a series of conservation roundtables that we have held around the country. The first of those roundtables highlighted on-the-ground solutions in Denver, Colorado, my hometown. We had people discussing conservation of land and ways to protect wildlife habitat. In September, there was another roundtable that focused on habitat trading credits and economical ways to conserve public lands. The third was held in Augusta, Georgia, and emphasized water quantity and the infrastructure that is necessary to preserve America's access to clean water. As time goes on, we expect to host other roundtables around the country. They've already given us the opportunity to learn from experienced people with a variety of views and to help improve our proposals. Today's session is going to have a similar format. The Council is an organization that is intended to stimulate brainstorming and debate and distribution of ideas. We have a generally shared political philosophy, but we do not have any requirement that our members agree in complete lockstep. Accordingly, not every member of the Council endorses every paper. We want to share a variety of ideas. And while the Council members themselves are conservatives or libertarians, we welcome the opportunity to work with others in finding how our approaches can be implemented in the real world. We have been assisted in our effort by our not-so-conservative friends at Environmental Defense Fund, and we thank them for their efforts. Several other environmental organizations are represented here today, as well as individuals from industry, agriculture, government, and conservative organizations. We welcome input from all corners. The Council's role as a conservative voice for environmental protection is important in today's economic situation. Local and state agencies face another year of budget cuts. Fortunately, our marketplace-oriented approach can provide some help and solutions. It's especially important here in Washington as Congress is grappling with ways to deal with the federal budget. We want to provide approaches that can protect the environment without major government expenditures. Now, let me share a very simple example. I was reading a magazine article the other day, and I thought this is a very simple and straightforward approach that everybody can understand. Local and state governments own thousands of miles and thousands of acres, millions of acres of land in the rights-of-way along rural roads. Kansas alone has over 20,000 miles of roads that have vegetation along the sides. That provides habitat for birds and small animals. It provides wildflowers and native grasses the opportunity to flourish. But in most places, the approach is to go through a number of times of year and mow that down, which destroys the habitat value. The Kansas Audubon Society calculated that just changing the mowing patterns to do it less often would save taxpayers millions of dollars while improving the habitat. It's a win for the environment while it saves taxpayers money. Now, that's not one of our specific proposals, but it's the kind of idea and fresh thinking that we welcome. One of our papers that is announced today directly addresses local and state government problems. We have many parks that are operated by governments that are facing cutbacks or even shutdowns. There are experiences with contracting out the management of some park activities, and our authors have traced that experience and have really put together some practical proposals for local governments and state governments that might be looking at those kinds of things. Our proposals explore ways of working within the regulatory system to allow economic activity while meeting environmental goals in less cumbersome ways. And you'll hear one of those proposals later this morning. Others may incidentally save government funding, but more encouragingly, encourage better environmental results through cooperative activity. Well, again, I want to thank you all for participating, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and ideas today.